Welcome to The Naked Truth. And now, your host, Bridget Barclay.
Hi there, guys. So again, good morning, America, and good early evening. Good early morning in England. Welcome to the Onyx Radio podcast. I'm your host, Bridget Barclay, here from England, and welcome to The Naked Truth. Well, tonight we have another good friend of mine, Mike Clelland. He is my guest. He is an author of fiction and non-fiction, and a fascinating book regarding to owl synchronicities and UFOs, and that's how we got in contact with each other. And he placed me in his book, The Messenger, which we'll go through shortly. So welcome, Mike, please.
Thank you. It's my honor.
Hello, you. There he is. There, he's not perched in a tree or anything like that.
Yeah, here, I can move this a little closer. Let's do this.
All right.
There we go. So,
are you okay?
I'm good.
From the other side of the pond?
I'm almost to the Pacific. The Pacific Ocean's about a 5-minute walk from where I'm sitting here. It's part of the Pacific Ocean. It's kind of an inland bay, but so yeah, a whole ocean and a whole continent further away. Yeah.
Well, yeah, definitely. Still cold either way.
It's gray and rainy here. Yeah. So we've got English weather where I live now. I live near Seattle, so we can commiserate about the weather. So.
I think it's been hailing here today. It's been really bad, but it's quite nice when you're stuck inside doing the odd few things. So, Mike, welcome to my podcast.
You.
Thank you very much, and thank you. So we go back to 2014, I do believe, when you had come over here to stay in England.
Yeah, and we had talked at length on the phone, or whatever version of the phone we were using back then, Skype or something, and but a lot before that, trying to hammer out some of the details of your experiences.
Yeah. Now, because obviously I didn't know that owls and UFOs go together, and that's how I got in contact with you, because it was with two other experiences. My synchronicity was. And the thing is with synchronicities, it's such strange synchronicities, and then boom, then you've got an owl on top of everything else, and I just didn't understand any of that, so that's where I came to you. So tell me how you got into because it's experiences with your own experience, isn't it? You first-hand experience on it in research, and that's why you wrote the books.
That was my initially, yeah. I had been reading UFO literature, turning the clock back to around 2006, 15, 16, 17 years ago. Yikes. 17, 18 years ago now. Yeah, yikes. And so I had been reading somewhat obsessively about the UFO experience. So I was well aware that there was owls that occasionally got reported in the context of UFO events, most often in the form of a screen memory. And I had an experience camping with a friend, and we saw a bunch of owls, and wow, was it heavy-handed and trippy and unusual, like powerfully strange. Like it was, we saw three owls on one night, and then this was while camping, and then right when she brought up the topic of God, these owls appeared. And then 4 days later, we went camping in a different part of the mountains. I was living in right next to Grand Teton National Park. Nice. And so 4 days later, we went camping into a totally different part of the world, or excuse me, a different part of the park there. And 3 owls at sunset, almost the same thing, a different place with the same person. So after that, when I saw those owls, the woman's name was Kristen that I was camping with. When I saw those owls 2 times, 3 owls, 4 days apart, I didn't really say this at the time. I say it now, but I wasn't saying it at the time. Yeah. Looking at real owls, I heard a voice in my head that very clearly said, something to do with the UFOs. And I don't know if it was my own internal voice or whether it was some sort of, but it was a really strong kind of like, oh, sort of, well, a message, I guess, is the easiest way to say it as anything. So I,
Say
so when
say what it said again, because you slightly went. Sound
forgive
like
me. Okay. It's the voice in my head said, this has something to do with the UFOs.
Okay.
I was looking at real owls. Voice in my head said this has something to do with UFOs. So I started looking up the mythology of owls and the totem meaning of owls and the spiritual meaning of owls. At the same time, I started to look at their connection with UFOs, and at the same time, I started looking into my own experiences, which I had not looked at. Like I was like pushing those away. I didn't want to deal with those
experiences.
UFO experiences in my youth, and so at the time I would have been about 44, and the UFO experiences had been in, two of them happened when I was 12 years old, and then one of them happened when I was 30, and I managed to just like deny, put them in the, just not, I wasn't going to deal with these at all, these events.
Were they close encounters?
They sure seemed to be, yeah, though I was just like, oh, that's a dream, oh, it doesn't mean anything, I'm not going to go there. So after I started looking into, not only did I look into the sort of spiritual mythic meaning of owls, I looked into started looking into my own UFO contact experiences.
Because also, go on then, sorry, carry on.
Oh, yeah, so keep going, yeah.
No, because I mean, there is good and bad with owls, isn't there? So you've got like the Hindus see it as a bad luck and a death, but then also you've got like the wisdom, intuition, knowledge, the messenger, truth, patience, so in a few scenarios it can mean different things to different religions, can't it?
Yes, but so what happened was, so very early on there, I had a blog at the time. I started a blog in 2009, and one of the very first stories I put on the blog was the story of camping with Kristen and seeing those owls. So very early on, I started writing about owls in my own personal experiences and also in the context of the UFO contact experience. And I started getting people sending me their stories. And right at the top of my blog, I put, I want to hear your owl story.
You still have that on your
oh yeah, it's on my webpage. It's right at the very top. Right at the very top. Yeah, and so I've been collecting owl stories. So if anyone anywhere in the world Googles UFOs owls, my name is going to come up, and then about the next 20 names below that, or the listings below that, are going to be me. So I very quickly became known sort of as the owl guy, and started collecting these stories. So the lore, the folklore, can be pretty dark.
Yeah.
And a harbinger of doom, or a sign of an impending death. In Shakespeare, in Julius Caesar, as well as in Macbeth, there's fatal deaths of the characters are predicted by the hooting of an owl.
Oh wow!
And so it's like it's all over the place in the lore, but that's not what I'm finding.
Yeah.
The stories that I'm collecting are curiously, I don't want to say positive, but I'll say benign. Well, there's a hopeful sentiment when you look at all of the stories collectively, right? So there's some small amount of the stories are pretty dark, but a large amount of the stories seem to have to do with like spiritual awakening, which I did not expect when I started doing the research.
It's funny,
go on.
Today, my encounter happened on a road that I'd had a few UFO experiences on in just outside Tavistock, a place called Birlston. There's a road, so it happened on the same road that I'd had a UFO experience on. But today I just put it into Google, and I said I found it in the sentence it says, what does it mean if an owl flies onto your car, into your car, yeah. And it says another potential reason for owls flying into the car is that they may be trying to defend themselves from perceived threats. If an owl feels threatened by a car's headlights or loud engine noise, it may try to defend itself by flying directly at the car and attempt to scare it away, whatever it perceives as a threat. I'd never read that before. In my experience, it wasn't a threat. It was just the synchronicity between two other UFO experiences and the high strangeness that went with it. But yeah, like I said, for a massive owl after, it's in your book, chapter 5, for it to bounce straight into my windscreen after I heard, very similar to yourself, I can see you. And that was related at the same time as these experiences were tapping, I can see you, because we looked back at times and synchronicities, and it was, but yeah, there's a huge story behind that, but yeah, it is, I did see it as I don't know, it was quite spiritual, because it is a beautiful bird, but to have it to go with the UFO experience and on the same road that I'd had UFO experiences, yeah.
And then your story also is intertwined with a very strange, almost synchronicity is not even the right word, like almost that printer scanner that appeared in the parking lot. Yeah.
Yeah, I just, you just can't make these things up. I felt, this isn't about me tonight. This is about you telling me all of your experiences, but it's there in detail, not too much detail in your book, but it was remarkable. It was like a miracle had happened, and then the UFO, the owl experience. So yes, but so with all of the other experiences that people have come to you, have they told you of the high strangeness, and then they've had the owl experiences as well then?
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. That's actually that's
the meaning of it, really.
Well, wait, the meaning, that's you could that's, I can't answer the meaning. I wish I could. I try. I can, but the right. So I mean, the total. I'm stretching my arms out, so you can't. My hands are off the screen there. But if you scroll the UFO literature and the UFO research community in the data pool that is connected with UFOs is enormous. It's so deep but I'm not looking at that big giant pool. I'm not looking at the big totality. There's government conspiracies, and then there's kind of people channeling, and then there's, nuts and bolts, burn marks in the ground. I'm looking at this thin little thread, and the stories are coming to me. I don't have to reach out for many stories. The stories are coming to me. I'm pulling on this little thin thread that is the UFO and owl connection. And within that little sliver of the great big giant picture of the great big giant pool, there is that's where the high strangeness, the sort of mystical aspect of it. So the stories that I'm collecting are very strange, and they have a powerful mystical, I
would say
framework.
That was severe. So I would say that was a severe high strangeness that I had with the owl and the printer scanner. It was severe.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, on the Richter scale of high strangeness, it was just like. Yeah.
So, but that's consistent with what I'm finding in the owl and UFO stories. So what I'm saying is you are not alone.
Yeah.
In the overlapping weirdness that seems to follow this. Now, other reports and other things, it's very commonly reported that people will have synchronicities in connection to UFO contact, but for some reason the thread that I'm pulling on is just rich with these symbolic and mythic stories.
Okay, so can we go back to when you were 12 and your UFO experiences?
Okay, so when I was 12 years old, I grew up in Michigan. And so one of the events took place where I was at a friend's sleepover. His name is Kenny. And it was just, it wasn't quite in the same neighborhood. I knew him from elementary school. He moved to a different town, but I was in his house. And there was it was nighttime. And he had a bunch of brothers and sisters. And so the house was crowded with kids. And it was a Friday and it was a weekend, so everyone was up. But looking out the window from his bedroom, as I recall, the lights were off in the bedroom. And we both went, "What is that?" And we went right up against the glass, and and there was something in the nighttime sky that was like a cylinder rotating at a very odd angle, and my sense was it was close and not very big, maybe the size of a van.
Okay.
But and we watched it for not too long, and it was twirling in this very smooth, eerie way, and then it was gone. And we both ran downstairs, and we had, because I was drawing as a little kid, and we both ran downstairs, and we drew it. And I remember I still have the image, and
wow.
we drew it that night. Yeah.
Oh wow! I should have asked to see that.
Oh, it's in the
great.
books. Yeah, it's on my website
yeah.
and things like that. Yeah. So the image isn't that interesting. It doesn't look like much, but it looks like a coffee can in the night sky with some lights on it. Actually, it would be a coffee can with a pencil sticking out the top. So.
Well, because you're an absolutely amazing illustrator. So, of your own books, so your background. What was your background within? Obviously, you started very young illustrating. So what got you, what continued? Did you go off into
I
work
lived in
placement?
Oh yeah, I lived in New York City and worked for ad agencies in the film industry doing illustration work, and in the 80s, a long time ago. And then I moved out west and started doing book illustration in the 90s.
Very intricate and very black and white, isn't it? So it's like that
sometimes
it's fine lines.
So a lot of the work is fine line illustration. I did a lot of instructional books for camping and skiing and rock climbing and such. So,
being an outdoor person, thankfully. So, would you say did you go into writing those books because of your outdoor skills, and then you put your illustrations together?
Well, I was uniquely positioned to do the illustration. It was funny because I would do these books on like ski instruction and camping techniques and such like that, and those were very easy for me because I ski and camp. And then people would call me up and say, "Can you do a book on canoeing?" And I was like, "Nope, I don't know anything about canoeing." Or they would say, "Oh, can you do a book about golf?" Like, and I'm like, "No way, I don't know anything about golf." And they said, "Oh, I'll just explain everything to you." And it's like, like
you've got to have experience.
The thought of someone trying to explain how to hold a golf club and then drawing it and then being the resource where I was very comfortable doing that with, like, how to hold your ski pole, but not, it was, so I turned, anyway, so I was very, very singular in not taking on work that I wasn't intimately connected with.
Lots of coffee shops I saw as well.
Oh, and then there was this, I used to carry a sketchbook around. Yeah, it's funny, I just put some stuff on a website, and and it's all the work I did, the stuff that I'm most proud of and most sort of lights a little fire in my heart is the sketchbook stuff, which just nobody hired me to do the sketchbook stuff. It's like, it's sort of like playing the banjo on the porch as far as like the illustration.
I did send some images to Ray, so if Ray can hear, he can put the illustrations up. But he's
Oh, I did that for your kids. I did that for your kids. June 2014, right? Yeah, June 2014.
I know, literally at the table. It was like, I think I'd cooked breakfast. And that happened within like an hour and a half.
I'm sure it was probably quicker than an hour and a half.
I know, but I think we were having breakfast as well at the same time. But it was just like, how amazing and intricate is that? It was like, wow.
Oh, I did it for your daughter.
You did, Jessica. Yes, you did. Yeah, she loved it. And then my ginger cat at the top was Griffin.
Yeah.
On the top of the elephant's head. So that was so sweet. Right, can I ask them? Owls are not just a nighttime occurrence. Any really good owl experiences throughout the day that have been with high?
Ooh, let me think. I'm sure I could come up with some. You're catching me off a little. So let me think during the day. Well, this is the problem. You get hundreds of stories, and some of them are very long. Yeah. So,
okay. Well, we'll go back to that.
Well, so here's a quick one. Here's a quick one. So this is one I have never told before, and it's kind of funny, and there's no UFOs in it, but it is sort of like telling of the. So a woman just got her Reiki attunement, just a Reiki level 3. So she's a certified Reiki healer, and Reiki is a form of hands-on energy healing.
Yeah.
So she is really happy, and she's like, oh my goodness, it's such a nice day. I'm going to go walk in the trail of the woods. So she walks in a trail in the woods, and she finds this side trail she's never noticed before. I've never seen this trail. I hike this trail all the time. There's a little side trail coming off it I've never seen before. She goes in the side trail, and then she sees an owl in a tree, and it's being really harassed by a hawk. And there's this tension, the owl and the hawk there's this tension, and she's like, oh, I know Reiki. I can diffuse the tension. And so she started doing, so you can do Reiki, send Reiki energy to any number of things. So there was like a conflict between this owl in the full daylight and a hawk. And she said, as soon as I started sending the energy, the hawk looked right at me and flew right up to me and landed in a branch and like gave her this glaring look, like basically like, stay out of what you're like, you were not invited here. Don't get involved with something you don't know anything about. Like, and she was like, whoa, like, so she had to leave. So that's a pretty simple story. There's no UFOs in it, but it does kind of tell
it's still an energy you're being threatened by, isn't it? Wow.
Yeah. Well, so this hawk basically flew up to her and said like, back off, lady. Like, this is between me and the owl. Don't get involved. So.
Oh, wow. Okay. I remember once going on a hike down in Devon, and a long hike all around, ups and downs in this sort of like woods, and there on the floor, actually, yeah, we were running, me and a friend of mine were running, and there on the floor, like you would do with a big massive stick, there was an illustration of a UFO, and there was something else. I don't remember what the something else is, but I do have a photograph of it. And we both freaked out because she said, did I come down here early this morning and do that? I went, no. So it was like one of those sort of, what is that doing there? And why was it there while we were running? And she knew that I was into all of this and had experiences anyway. But it was just one of those things that you find on a hike, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Someone had done. Right. Okay. So, with Messenger, how long did it take you to put that together then, the Messenger? Because you've done two versions of it. One was your first version, then you did an update? Is that right?
Well, so the book, The Messengers, was published. Richard Dolan originally published the book in 2015.
That's the one that I'm in, isn't it? That one.
Yep.
I found myself in it twice. Because we said you wrote something else about when I was saying about the energy of.
Yes, the magnets.
Yeah,
I use that line all the time. I love that thing about the magnets. We can talk about that. But the book came out in 2015, and so all it really did was when I got the rights back to it.
Okay.
Rich Dolan started doing like a podcast pay-per-view YouTube member site.
Okay.
And he didn't have any time to deal with the books. It sounded like, given it was a hassle for him to try to. He loved like publishing the books, but the actual act of sending the royalties out was like, he needed like a full-time accountant to do that. And he didn't have that, so he gave me the rights back for free, which is unheard of in the field of publishing. Right. And then I updated it and it cleaned up a few stories. And I remember I contacted you, and there was I kind of undertold the story the first time, and I added a few more details the second time, and a few stories are a few more details added in it, but it's essentially the exact same book.
Well, I must get the other one then.
Yeah. And then the other. I could send you a PDF, and then there was this follow-up book, which I don't have on the desk here.
I don't do PDF.
Okay.
I'm afraid. Nope. Okay. No, I don't. But, yeah,
but there's a follow-up book. After I did the first book, The Messengers, a second book came out 2 years later in 2017, and that book was stories that didn't fit in to the first book, essentially.
Oh, okay. What, as in what?
Long format stories that just were too complicated to tell in the first book. The first book has got, oh my gosh, there's, depending on how you parse it out, there's hundreds of owl stories in the first book.
There is, yeah.
And they would talk to someone on the phone, and you must know what this is like. You talk to someone on the phone and you hear their story, and then it's like takes 6-7 hours for them to tell the story completely.
Yeah.
And then in the book, when I wrote the first book, all I could do was say, like, Joe saw an owl on a fence.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, right.
And that's all I could say.
Yeah.
To make my point. And then,
I think for me, I was at the store and I was in the car park, and I was like, wow, it was a little bit more complicated than that, but yeah, it was a bit.
Yeah.
But I see what you're saying. So, okay, so you obviously still are getting emails from people. Are you going to do another one?
All the time.
Going to do another one? A continuous one?
Well, so if you take so I did 3 owl books, and you stack them one on top of each other, it's 1,000 pages, almost exactly 1,000 pages. It's a big, and if I can't make my point that owls and UFOs are connected in 1,000 pages, it's not going to do me any good. It's not going to do me any good to write another book. Like, I got plenty of stories. I got plenty of remarkable stories, and maybe I can put a little blog post out every once in a while, it's not going to. It's essentially, it would be the same story over and over again.
Well, it's like in the Messenger, you've got different formats of it. You've got, like, for me, it was the windscreen and the owl. So you've got it in different sort of subtitles, subtexts. You should do what Preston Bennett's doing, a YouTube YouTube channel with all about owls, because it would be remarkable. It would be remarkable.
Well, I do podcasts all the time and such like that. So, I mean, that's all so I could, one thing at a time. I'm working on an audiobook for a book right now, and that's like making me a little crazy because it's such hard work. So I am not a gifted reader of text.
Okay.
So
well, until you find your strength in doing it and overdoing it and keep doing it and keep doing it. So you're going to do the audiobooks for all of them then? All of your books?
So I've done 2 of the audiobooks. I hired someone to do this one. Yeah, so there's 3 books that are out, or 4 books that are out now. 3 of them have audiobooks. And then the fiction book that just came out in May, I'm working on the audiobook for that right now.
That's the Unseen.
That's the Unseen.
Yeah. I think Race has.
Oh, look, Race did it. We made him Google. We cracked the Google whip when he was there.
Right. Okay. So we're going to go on a break quickly, and then we can come back and you can talk about the Unseen novel. So we will be back with Mike Clelland, and we are going to go into a commercial break, and I'm not totally sure what they're going to show you.
Yeah.
Because the convention's over at the moment. So I'll be back in a few minutes.
Are you thinking about purchasing a wood-fired heating or cooking appliance but don't know where to start? The new book, Wood-Fired Heating and Cooking, will guide you through the process and make the decision much easier. Find out about wood stoves, wood-burning fireplace inserts, masonry heaters, cook stoves, brick ovens, and more. Learn about operation and maintenance, buying and storing wood, even how to make your own charcoal. A bonus section includes delicious recipes for cooking in a wood-burning oven, grill, tandoori oven, or smoker. The wise homeowner, prepper, or homesteader will have the ability to heat their home with wood when the power goes out, or to save money on increasing gas bills. Wood-fired heating and cooking is available at Amazon. Visit www.woodfiredpub.com for more information. That's woodfiredpub.com.
Hi there, welcome back to the Annex Radio podcast. Myself, Bridget Barclay, and along with Mike Clelland. Are you still there, Mike?
I'm here.
Hey, right. So, as said before the break, we were starting to talk about The Unseen, your fiction book. Please tell me more.
Oh, so yeah. So this is interesting. So no, I'm just trying to think.
I love your illustrations.
So the book, it was initially, I was going to do a comic book. I was going to do a graphic novel, and I was all on fire to do this graphic novel in around 2010, which is 13 years ago. And I started doing some drawings and doing some illustrations and did some sample pages and kind of wrote a really tight outline of the story. And wow, I was on fire to do this. But I talked to some people who worked in the comic book industry, and they were like, "Hey, you don't want to do this alone. You want to work with a team. Don't do a big fat graphic novel all by yourself." And I realized, like, after I realized, it's too much work. I'll never. Okay. So I put it on a shelf, the treatment, and then after I did the third Owl book, which was called Hidden Experience, I pulled the treatment. I just was like, I got to do something now. What am I like? I'm kind of like, and so I pulled this treatment off, and I read the treatment. I hadn't read it for 8 years or something.
Sorry, you called it the treatment, did you? First of all.
Well, the treatment, that would be like what you would call, that would be like what a publisher says, what's your idea for the book? So it was instead of 350 pages, it was 15 pages. Okay. Kind of a rough outline of the story. So an outline of the story. So the outline was, so I read it and I was like, there's something to this. So I tried working on it. Oh my God, I got like exactly nowhere. Oh, it was the hardest thing. So, and then just like I would try to work on it and I would back off and I'd try to work on it. And so over the pandemic during COVID, I was like there's a point like when like you're trying to cross the ocean, right? And the boat's gone too far and then you can't, so like I don't have enough food to get back. It was kind of like that of like, if I don't finish this. So I made myself finish it, and then I didn't know what to think. And then somewhere along the way, I had some friends read some chapters, and they were like, this is good. So I ended up doing it. And so the premise of the story is I had been collecting all these UFO and owl accounts. And so when I talk to people, I often hear not quite the same story, but a very similar story. So I'll say, and I must have said this 1,000 times and typed it 1,000 times in emails. I said, I have never heard your story exactly, but I have heard many with the same flavor and mood. Someone tells me a story like, wow, I can just tap into like the mood of the story and like, oh yeah, this is one of those owl stories. Okay. Yeah, so I tried to imbue the book with that flavor and mood. So it's a kind of a mystery thriller, paranormal, and now I'm going to be very cautious saying this, like there's a pop culture kind of story, like a really fast-paced kind of story with spies and romance and a mystery at the surface level. But like below that, like almost hidden, I was trying to tell a deeper story, an unseen story, exactly, an unseen story. So yeah, it seems to be, if you read the reviews on Amazon, it's, people get it. Like I was really worried, like, what am I doing? Like put this weird book out and but people seem to really like it. So that's been really heartening for me.
I think I said to you, it make a great, I haven't read it yet, but what I've taken from it, from what I have read online and bits and bobs, it make an amazing play.
Amazing.
Screenplay.
Oh, a film, yeah. What's funny, because when I talk about it, sometimes I say, oh, and then in this part of the movie, and then like, wait a minute, it's not a movie.
Manifest.
Yeah. So I make a mistake and call it a film. Yeah. So. Yeah.
So, as in, so you said you had 2 experiences when you were 12, and then one when you were older. Is that correct?
Yeah, and so the other one when I was 12, I was walking home from a high school football game, and it's Friday night, Michigan, 12 years old. So I was like in this Leave It to Beaver neighborhood. And
so you're 12 on both accounts. Do you remember? So this is your second one. So
I'm not really sure which came first. I'm assuming the one I know happened in the fall because it was football season. And so I'm assuming the other one happened earlier that year. And I know that was 1974 because of when the boy... Anyway, because it might have been summer of 1974. So in the autumn of 1974, walking home from a high school football game, and I'm with another friend. His name is Mike, and it's only a half a mile to football field, and that's what everyone did on Friday night. All the kids would go to the football field, and I
You
wanted to
hang
be
out
home.
with the kids always, by the sounds of it, with the parties
Oh
and
yeah,
everything.
yeah.
Aw.
So coming home, I in the neighborhood, like this. In my memory is the sky lit orange, and then went right back to
I need to
nighttime
say
sky.
that again because it went again. It always goes when you're right at the crucial thing.
Oh, okay. So the nighttime sky,
Yep.
regular beautiful autumn night, calm, warm. But just for 1 second, it went click, turned bright orange. Everything turned orange, and then went click right back to the nighttime sky. The whole sky. It wasn't like a little dot somewhere. It was the whole sky. That's my memory. And I was like, wow, that was weird. And both him and I were like, what just happened? And we tried to say, like, was there an explosion? Was it lightning? Was it, nothing made sense. And it didn't make any noise. And then when I got home to my house, so my friend lived a little further in the neighborhood. He was going to walk a few more blocks, and I was done. So I just walked into my house, and my mom and dad were waiting for me.
Oh dear.
They were like, why are you home so late? Why are you home? Where have you been? And I was like, I told you I'd be home at 9:30. I'm right on time. I knew right when I left the football game, a short walk. And they pointed at the clock and said, it's 11:30.
Oh my.
And this is roughly 2 hours. Hard to know, but roughly 2 hours of missing time. And I was like, that was way before Bud Hopkins and the term missing time entered our vocabulary. Mm-hmm. So I was just baffled that my parents were angry at me because I felt like, no.
Yeah.
I left the football game at the right time to be home.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, so the next Monday morning at school, at the elementary school, I've been in junior high school. Mm-hmm. I was with Mike and some other kids, and I said, hey, something weird happened Friday night. And my friend Mike said, yeah, we saw a UFO with lights and everything. And I was like, what? I never saw a UFO. Like, is he lying? Did I? So and I've since gotten back to him, and he doesn't remember it at all. But he remembers that I got in trouble that night. But he doesn't remember.
I was going to ask you, actually, what, if you still keep in contact with him and if he has any other experiences. Has he had any other experiences?
Not that I know of, no. And then my
what
friend
about the first guy? The first
Kenny.
guy,
Kenny, this is another funny thing. Kenny said, I don't remember that at all. But he told his mother, this was probably 10 years ago I was in touch with him, mm-hmm. and he told his mother, and his mother said, I remember that night you came downstairs and you said you saw a UFO and you drew it at the kitchen table.
Yeah, it's very easy to forget a UFO experience. As crazy as that sounds, you'll remember.
Oh, I know.
If you remember it, if you're saying it's something like Kenny's telling his mum, and his mum will clock it because she, it's an unusual thing to say possibly. But I've forgotten before, and it wasn't until I'd had my really big encounter in Los Angeles that I got in contact with the guy that I was living with, Billy, that I'd had a UFO experience with. And I said to his mum, I'd had a big experience out in Los Angeles, Brentwood. She says, well, don't you remember the time when you and Billy had the UFO encounter? And I went, and she goes, oh, you were staying at that hotel. And I went, oh my God. And I just couldn't believe, but I remembered it for a bit afterwards, but then it just totally went until she triggered my memory again. Yeah. It's quite baffling.
I think it's very common. Yeah.
Well, yes, it is, as we know that, you hear all these things. So, when you said that you were researching to look into writing a book on the owls and the UFO experiences, just out of interest, what books were you looking at? Who were you looking?
Oh, Communion.
Oh, was it? Yes,
Communion, yeah. Oh, wow, it's right there in Communion.
Yeah.
So that would be and then it's Whitley Strieber wrote about an owl that so his initial event, which changed the world, right? That book was enormously, Communion was enormously popular. I think it was published in 1987. The event happened on Christmas, the night of Christmas Day, right? So 25th, not Christmas Eve, the night of Christmas Day.
Yeah.
And then he woke up the next morning, and so he had what we call like the events on the ship and on the table and all the. But he told us when he had to articulate it, he told his wife, he said, I think there was an owl on the windowsill looking in the window, looking in at us in the bedroom. And this was in upstate New York in the wintertime, obviously, Christmas time. So they went to the window, and the owl, where the owl should have stood on the windowsill, there was snow that had been there for a few days, but there were no markings in the snow. So if the owl had stood there, there should have been footprints. So when he saw there was no footprints, he was like, whoa, something else happened. But that was his memory of a barn owl looking in the window at him. And then his other books, I think it's called Breakthrough and Transformation.
Yeah.
And then there's another book called The Communion Letters.
That's correct.
I got all of those,
Yeah.
and I searched those out, and I found every owl reference in those 3 books. There's other books, Bud Hopkins' book. Not Missing Time doesn't have any owls in it, but I think Sight Unseen has owls in it.
Yeah, I think it does. I've got that one. It's Sight Unseen. Yeah, it does actually. Yeah, that one. I got the uncorrected proof, but yeah, that one, it has got owls in it. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
That was with Carol Rainey as well. Yeah.
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 Is it, but it was funny. So Whitley Strieber wrote, there would be a paragraph here and a paragraph here, and I collected all those paragraphs and put them together, and he exactly, he's a beautiful writer, but he exactly captures the kind of mystery of the owl as how it shows up in the reports.
It's funny because prior to this, I sent you, I don't know if you saw it on Messenger, I was looking just something up on an owl, and this wicker basket came up, like a laundry basket, and and I looked at it and I thought, whoa, that just looks like the face of E.T. So if you look, I've got 2 ETs in here. I've got a ceramic one, I've got the other one. But if you look at it, the shape of the face, the eyes, there's us with glasses looking like owls right now. But and I just thought, oh my God, I did kind of get it, because obviously the dark eyes and the shapes are slightly different. But it was really bizarre when I showed you you'll have to.
That was a half hour before before we went online.
I had never sort of like put it together as the 3 together. Well, shit, it's identical symmetry between it. Of like, if you had to draw it, it's like, oh, that's an owl and that's ET. Yeah.
This has been my life. That connection. Yeah, like seeing this over and over and over in every conceivable strange.
To me, it's usually a craft, and then or a massive orb. Not a being as such. So, but for other people, I know that it is. We're talking Whitley. So, remind me again what I said to you about the magnet, because I didn't realise until I went through Messenger and that you wrote something else up, because I was trying to describe the energy that you get when you're having an experience. I can do it right now, and you can just feel it. It's that sort of repelling, but it's that energy that you're sort of trapped into. So it was very. So why you're explaining it as that to other people?
So I.
For your experience, wasn't it?
So when I was 30, which is half my lifetime
ago. This is
your
other experience.
This is my experience when I was 30. Okay. Well, I've had lots of other experiences, but they started coming fast and furious at some point. But when I was 30...
I love that, Phil.
Yeah. So when I was 30, I was living alone in a house in Maine, and it was wintertime. It would have been the January or February of 1993. So...
That was the year that I had my experience, 93, in February 93.
Wow, February 93, okay.
Yeah.
So I was lying in bed, and there was a bright light shining through the window, bright light. And I sat up in bed and looked out the window, and there was 5 alien beings, gray beings with the skinny bodies and the bald head and the big black eyes, walking towards the house. And they were backlit by this bright thing in the yard. And the bright thing was not very big.
You were looking down upon them?
No, I was on the ground floor. I was on the ground floor.
Yeah, sorry. Okay.
Ground floor, wintertime, bright light, illuminating the snow, 5 beings. They weren't far away. They were like right out the window. Like if they had to come in the house, they would have just, the front door was just, they were just around the corner, but they were like right there. It wasn't like I was some little dots off in the distance. They were like, they were just about to go around the corner of the house.
Okay.
And so they're walking towards the house. They're backlit by this light. The light isn't very big. It's like the size of like a washing machine or something.
Okay, so what is it as a shape, like an
It
orb?
just was a ball of light as far as I remember.
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
And then I don't know how long I looked at it, not very long. And I heard a voice in my head that said, "Oh yes, they're here. Now is the time to put your head on the pillow and shut down."
Oh.
And I just, I should have been terrified. I should have jumped up. I should have locked the doors. I didn't do any of that. So this event was overlapped with this feeling of, like, it was dreamlike. Like the next morning, I just dismissed it as a dream. I never even bothered to go out and to look. It was absurd, right? Why would I go out to look and see if there were footprints in the snow?
Well, it's a bit like what you've just said to me about Whitley and the owl.
Yeah. There's no foot. I never looked though. Whitley at least went and looked at the windowsill. I never even went out and looked. So, there was a feeling. It was weirdly quiet. Like the brain chatter in my normal thought, my brain chatter was like turned off. Like I was sort of blank and kind of void of emotion. Everything was hyper clear. And I've since had that experience a few more times, that feeling. So I went to a UFO conference and was going to UFO conferences. And early on, I was talking to people on the phone all the time. And I would always ask, like, have you ever had this experience of like a distorted time or distorted reality? And people would say, "Oh yeah, I had this feeling," and they would kind of talk about it, and then it's really hard to explain. And when I met you in England, I asked you the same question: "Have you ever had this feeling?" And you said, "Oh, with the event in Los Angeles." You said, "You know how when you take two magnets, like you push them together in one way and they click and they stick, but you pull them apart and turn one of them 90 degrees and try to push them, they no longer stick, they repel." Yeah. And there's, like, you hold the magnets, there's nothing to see. Like you look between, there's nothing to see, but there's a palpable, weird kind of warbling energy that you can feel in between those magnets. And you said I can't remember how you said it, but my memory is you said, like, being that close to the event, being within the event was like being between those two magnets. Yeah. And when you said that, I was like, oh, that is exactly how to describe it. Like I knew I like knew your event was 1,000% real, and I could tap into it so strongly because I had that knowing of that magnet sensation.
Yeah, I mean, that wasn't just on the, like you've just said, it's happened a few times. That wasn't just the LA one. It's happened that, quite a few times. It gives you that. I have got goosebumps as you say that, but I've got such a thick winter jumper on, you can't feel it. But yeah, no, And do you remember me saying to you last week with my mess up, everybody, apologies everybody, I got the hour difference wrong. I was silly. I thought everyone went back, but no, just England went back.
We have since gone back.
On February November the 5th, you went back. Yeah, so I got it wrong. So that's why you've come back again this week for me. But it was very, very strange, very, very strange that when you get that feeling. But I did explain to you when I had that light outside my bedroom window last year, that was a buzz, that was a vibration as well. Not like that. I mean, you can just live it again with your eyes closed. That feeling, totally. That feeling, once you've had that feeling, that just doesn't go at all. And it does come along with the other experiences. Well, the other experiences, yeah. So yeah, that was enchanting, isn't it? Because it's just such a plethora of different things, experiences that you have as an experiencer. It's not just seeing a craft, it's all of the other shit that you've got to put up with that you have to go through in your head, haven't you?
Yeah, so that's what I'm doing, as I said before, I'm just pulling on the owl string. And, I talk to people all the time, and I'm not talking to a wide range of experiencers. I'm talking to a very narrow range of experiencers. And, I guess I have, but I never hear the story of like, oh, the flying saucer landed on the road and took us out of our car, and then we were lying on a table. Like, I've heard that. It's certainly part of, pardon?
Preston said it has many times.
Oh, yeah. But what I'm hearing is the people I'm talking with are basically saying, I had the weirdest synchronicity.
Yeah.
Or I had this thing happened in normal waking consciousness, like some coincidence that's beyond coincidence. And it's totally felt staged or shared dreams and that's what I'm hearing. That's the bulk of what people are sharing with me. Those kinds of weird dream-like where reality plays out like a dream.
Yeah, you're right. It was the synchronicity of the printer scanner that I just said in a minute, literally, not even. I'd gone to buy a printer scanner on a Sunday, late in the day. All of the shops closed at 4:00. I got there probably about 3:15. Just went to look around. It was quite a few people there. The shop assistants were busy talking to everyone else. I'm like looking. I'm not into technology. Race can definitely tell you that. And they were all busy, and I just thought, I just need a printer scanner. That's all I need. And then I thought to myself, okay, you know what? They're all busy. I'm just going to go. Went back to the car park lot. I had a Grand Voyager here in England, and there next to my wheel, next to my wheel was a printer scanner on the floor, not in a box, just there. And I just looked. I just looked around the car park lot and was like, well, there's not many cars here. No one heard me talk. I didn't verbally talk to anyone unless telepathically people were listening. And I just thought, what the fuck? I shouldn't swear. What should I do with it? What shall I do? And I looked around and I thought, you know what? I can do one of two things. I can pick it up, put it in the car, or I can leave it there. Well, actually move it and put it out the way. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to pick it up. I picked it up, put it in the car, and I just couldn't believe it. I just could not believe it. Like you're saying, it's a staged thing. Mm-hmm. And then I start on the journey home down the country road, round the backs of a place called Beeralston, where I'd had UFO experiences before. I'd had 2 UFO experiences. One with a light coming down over the trees, and then I got out of the car and watched it go over a field and then down a field. And then another one with these lights with another witness. My boss was a witness too. But anyway, and that is where I heard in my head going through and I keep looking at the printer scanner, and this is just unreal.
Is that it right there? Oh, you're thinking you were looking at it while you're driving.
I'm looking at it while I'm driving, thinking this is unreal. And then in my head, I'm going through a conversation I had with 2 experiences the night before. One of them is Suzanne Chancellor, and I remember her saying, "Is like, I can see you," and then all of a sudden, as I just turn around the corner, boom! This owl, now I've got goosebumps, just bounced into my windscreen, and I was like, no! I was so concerned, and it was dark. I was so concerned about the owl, so I sort of pulled over. I could see where the very tall grass. I couldn't see any movement in the grass. I wasn't going to get out. I was in the middle of nowhere, down a country lane. It was dark. I mean, it was on a Sunday. It would have been winter time, dark. I wasn't going to get out of the car, and I just couldn't see anything, couldn't see any movement. And I just thought, okay, I'm just going to go home. Went home to a place that I was having lots of strange experiences with. Orbs outside the house. My son had seen it, and it would stay there for us and watch. I'd call him down, and he was watching it. And I said to him, my son's called Orion. I said, Orion, look what I got. And he just said to me, it was like out of Poltergeist. He said, Mum, that is not coming in the house. And because obviously, Carrie Ann wasn't allowed the TV in the house at the last scene of Poltergeist. But it was like that. It was the most strangest thing. Right, listen, Mike, I'm going to have you back as well.
Great.
I've been told that we've got to go. It is a wrap, as he says. Next week, I actually have got someone in because it's another same synchronicity. I have a Mike Patterson in from Ontario, Canada, Sasquatch, because that is another huge realm to the owls, the synchronicity, and the UFOs. And I've got to know through other experiences with him. So thank you, Mike. very much. I am going to have you back on, and thank you for being a friend for so long in my life.
It's my
And a
honor.
part of my life. Yeah. All right, guys. So thank you for The Naked Truth. Thank you for Mike Clelland, and we will be back next week with Mike Patterson from Ontario, Canada, Sasquatch. Oh my God, that is going to be another story. Take it easy here from England. Night night.